A consumer alert to tell you about this afternoon. A popular coffee creamer is on the recall list for several states, including Ohio.
That little bottle next to your coffee maker, the one you reach for every morning, stir into your first cup, trust as a cleaner choice after 50. Except there's no cream in it, not a drop. Coffee creamer is one of the most chemically engineered products in the American grocery store. Not occasionally faked, systematically faked. At scale on shelves you shop every single week. More than 7 out of 10 creamers have been stripped of real dairy, replaced with hydrogenated oils, synthetic emulsifiers, and lab-built stabilizers. 10 brands doing it, only 3 aren't, and one test you can run tomorrow morning with a glass of water. Let's start with the worst one first. Coming in at number 1, and the brand most of you have sitting in your refrigerator door right now, is Coffeemate Original by Nestle. That familiar red and white bottle, that thick, vanilla-tinged pour. For decades, it has been the default creamer in break rooms, diners, and kitchen counters across the country. Nestle spent 40 years convincing Americans that Coffeemate is a breakfast staple. Here is what the label buried in small print tells a different story about. The first 3 ingredients are water, corn syrup solids, and vegetable oil. There is no fourth ingredient that is dairy. The oil used is partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, a source of artificial trans fats. The FDA has officially determined that partially hydrogenated oils are not generally recognized as safe, which is the technical phrase regulators use before they ban something. Nestle reformulated slightly after pressure, but the core architecture of this product has never been real food. It is an emulsion of cheap fats, thickeners, and synthetic flavoring held together by dipotassium phosphate, a chemical compound used in fertilizers, fire extinguishers, and your morning coffee. Open the bottle and smell it. That sweetness, that fake vanilla note, that is not a flavor. That is a fragrance compound. Actual cream smells like dairy because it is dairy. Coffeemate smells like a candle because it has more in common with one than with milk. For anyone who has poured this into coffee every morning for a decade, you are not getting a fat to fuel your morning. You are loading up on refined corn syrup and industrial oil that your liver then has to process before you have even finished your first cup. The one in your refrigerator right now has more in common with margarine than with cream. 40 years on grocery shelves. 40 years of calling it a creamer. That is the whole lie. If you thought Coffeemate was the cheap brand and switching to something fancier meant switching to something safer, the next brand is about to prove you wrong. At number 2, International Delight has built an empire on flavored creamers that taste like dessert. Caramel Macchiato, Cinnabon, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. The branding is playful, the flavors are indulgent, and the packaging suggests something celebratory. What it actually contains should not be celebrated by anyone who cares about what is in their body. International Delight's ingredient list opens with water, skim milk, and sugar, and then immediately pivots into a wall of additives. Sodium caseinate, which is a milk derivative that legally does not count as milk. Dipotassium phosphate again, mono and diglycerides, carrageenan, polysorbate 60, and artificial flavors. Carrageenan deserves special attention here. It is a seaweed-derived thickener that has been under scientific scrutiny for decades. Studies published in peer-reviewed gastroenterology journals have linked degraded carrageenan to intestinal inflammation, colonic lesions, and disrupted gut microbiome balance. The European Union restricts its use in infant formula specifically because of these concerns. The Cinnabon flavor contains titanium dioxide, a whitening agent banned as a food additive by the European Food Safety Authority in 2021, specifically because it could not be ruled out as a carcinogen. It is still legal in the United States. Pour any International Delight flavored creamer into a clear glass. Hold it to the light. That artificial brightness, that unnatural opacity, real dairy gets its color from fat globules suspended in water. That color is from titanium dioxide. For anyone adding this to multiple cups throughout the day, this is daily carrageenan exposure compounded by a banned whitening agent on top of it. Dessert flavored, laboratory built. That is the whole product. That was a flavored brand selling you carnival food for breakfast. So what about Coffeemate's own attempt at going natural? Number 3 is Coffeemate Natural Bliss. And this one requires particular attention because of exactly what it is trying to do to your perception. Natural Bliss launched as Nestle's answer to growing consumer pressure for cleaner ingredients. The name says natural. The packaging is muted and earthy. The font looks like something off a farmer's market sign. The back of the label, however, tells a story that the front of the label is working very hard to distract you from. The ingredient list on Coffeemate Natural Bliss includes coconut oil, cane sugar, and sunflower oil. There is skim milk, which makes it technically a dairy product, but skim milk is listed third, which means by weight there is more sugar in this bottle than actual dairy. The thing about that sunflower oil is the word refined. You will see it in the fine print, refined sunflower oil. Refined means the oil went through deodorization, bleaching, and degumming using industrial solvents and temperatures above 400 degrees Fahrenheit. The oleic acid that starts out in sunflower oil degrades under that process into a cascade of aldehydes and lipid peroxides. Pour it into hot coffee and you accelerate that degradation further. In 2022, Consumer Reports published a deep investigation into creamers marketed as natural or clean label. Coffeemate Natural Bliss was flagged for containing added sugars that exceeded what most nutrition authorities recommend for an entire day when accounting for realistic portion sizes, 2 to 4 tablespoons per cup, multiple cups per day. For families adding this to children's drinks, or for seniors watching cholesterol alongside anyone else trying to eat less processed food, what looks like a natural ingredient on the outside is a heavily industrialized fat on the inside. That is not what the packaging suggests, not even close. Natural sounding. Anything but natural inside. That is the whole maneuver. See the pattern? Budget brand, dessert brand, clean label brand, they all share the same core problem. So what about the plant-based creamers that health-conscious consumers switched to? Number 4 is Silk Creamer, the plant-based line from White Wave Foods, now owned by Danone. Silk built its brand on being the alternative, the choice for people who had already rejected conventional dairy products or conventional creamers. The Silk branding implies consciousness, care, thoughtful sourcing. And then you look at the ingredients. Silk. Original creamer leads with sunflower oil. Not oats, not almonds, not any food you would put in a smoothie. The second ingredient is a pea protein concentrate, then cane sugar, then a series of thickeners. Gellan gum, locust bean gum, and gar gum layered on top of each other. These gums are used to replicate the mouthfeel of cream. Real cream achieves that texture through butterfat. Silk achieves it through 3 different industrial gums stacked in sequence. The sunflower oil in Silk is cold-pressed, according to the label. However, cold-pressed does not mean unrefined, and once heated in the way coffee does during use, even cold-pressed sunflower oil begins oxidizing. The fats you are putting into your body are degraded fats before they even reach your cells. The plant-based creamer aisle expanded because Danone saw a market. Health-conscious consumers who wanted dairy alternatives but still wanted richness in their morning cup. The problem is that richness in a plant-based product cannot come from plant fat alone in the concentrations these products use. So engineers reach for gums and emulsifiers to simulate a texture the fat cannot provide. Third-party testing consistently shows that multiple gum products produce a higher inflammatory marker response than single-ingredient fat sources in vitro gut microbiome models. That testing does not make the evening news. The artisan-looking bottle is what makes the evening news. Good intentions, industrially processed ingredients. That is the gap. A lot of people switch to coconut-based creamers thinking they were getting something fundamentally different. That assumption is about to take a hit. Number 5 is So Delicious Coconut Creamer, another Danone-owned brand, and another product that promises a clean, simple alternative and delivers something considerably more complicated. Coconut has a health halo in American consumer culture. Coconut oil, coconut milk, coconut water. The marketing leans into tropical, natural, ancestral. So Delicious applies that halo to a product that does not deserve it. So Delicious unsweetened coconut creamer contains coconut cream, water, and then locust bean gum, gellan gum, and gar gum. Again, 3 gums stacked to simulate texture, plus dipotassium phosphate, which appears in this product exactly as it appears in Coffeemate Original. That is the same synthetic chemical compound showing up in both the cheapest conventional creamer on the market and in a premium plant-based product sold at health food stores at nearly 3 times the price. Open the carton, shake it before you pour. That liquid separation, the way it stratifies if you leave it for even a few minutes, that is what happens when a product does not have real emulsifying fat. It is gums and water held temporarily in suspension. The coconut cream used is a minimal fraction of the product by weight. The labeling requirements mean it can be listed first, even if it constitutes less than 10% of the total volume. For anyone spending $4 to $5 more per carton, believing they are making a healthier choice, that premium is going entirely to marketing, not to better ingredients. Same chemicals, different packaging, triple the price. If this is the first time you are realizing the plant-based creamer aisle might not be what it seems, make sure you subscribe. This kind of investigation is exactly what this channel does every week, and it is free to follow along. Think the oat category is cleaner? Think again. At number 6, Chobani Oat Creamer has the cleanest looking brand identity of almost any product in this category. Chobani built its reputation on Greek yogurt, on real dairy, honest ingredients, no artificial anything. When they launched an oat-based creamer, the brand equity transferred. Consumers who trusted Chobani's yogurt extended that trust to their creamer without checking whether it deserved it. The second ingredient in Chobani Oat Creamer is canola oil. Canola oil is a refined seed oil extracted through a high-heat chemical solvent process using hexane, an industrial chemical derived from petroleum. The refining process strips out nearly all of the plant's original nutritional content and replaces it with a bland, pale oil that has a high concentration of omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids. When omega-6 intake dramatically outpaces omega-3 intake, which is precisely what happens when refined seed oils are a daily staple, cellular inflammation increases. A 2020 review in the journal Progress in Lipid Research found that the modern Western diet's ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fats, now estimated at roughly 15:1 and rising, is directly implicated in the inflammatory basis of cardiovascular disease, arthritis, and metabolic disorders. The ideal ratio is between 1:1 and 4:1. Chobani's reputation says simple and honest. Canola oil says otherwise. Brand trust borrowed from a different product category and spent on something that does not deserve it. At number 7, Califia Farms Oat Barista Blend is sold in a sleek, tall, matte bottle that looks like it belongs next to artisan cold brew at a specialty coffee shop. The Califia brand is a darling of the wellness community. Influencers put it in their morning routine videos. Nutritionists on social media recommend it as a milk alternative. It is expensive, beautiful, and consciously marketed. The first ingredient is oat milk, which is oats plus water, a food. The second ingredient is rapeseed oil. Rapeseed oil is another name for canola oil. The third ingredient is dipotassium phosphate, back again for the fourth time across this list. Then sunflower lecithin, gellan gum, and calcium carbonate. Califia charges a premium specifically because it positions itself as cleaner than the conventional options. But its core ingredient, after the oat milk, is the same industrial seed oil showing up in products that cost a third of the price. And the dipotassium phosphate you are trying to avoid by leaving the conventional creamer aisle is right there in the second line of the ingredients. In a 2023 consumer investigation, food journalist B. Wilson, writing for The Guardian, described the naturalistic fallacy of plant-based dairy alternatives. The assumption that plant-derived automatically means minimally processed or nutritionally superior. Califia is a perfect example of that fallacy in action. Beautiful bottle, industrial contents, a premium you are paying for design, not for cleanliness. Now, let's talk about a brand that has built its entire identity around being the creamer for people who do not want any of what we have been talking about. Number 8 is Nut Pods, which markets itself directly at the keto and Whole30 communities, people actively trying to eliminate seed oils, added sugars, and artificial ingredients from their diets. The pitch is explicit: no sugar, no dairy, no carrageenan, no artificial anything. Nut Pods is supposed to be the solution. The base is almond milk and coconut cream, which are fine. Then the full ingredient list reveals gellan gum, dipotassium phosphate, sunflower lecithin, and natural flavors. Natural flavors is a legal category that can encompass hundreds of distinct chemical compounds. The FDA requires only that the flavor originate from a natural source, not that it be processed minimally or used at safe levels. A natural flavor derived from an animal or plant can be processed through industrial extraction methods that render it chemically complex and unrecognizable from its source. Independent testing by the Environmental Working Group found that products using the natural flavors designation routinely contain between 5 and 15 individual flavor compounds not disclosed on the label. For the Whole30 community that trusts Nut Pods specifically because it appears to meet the program's guidelines, the natural flavors loophole is a significant blind spot that the brand has never addressed publicly. Clean label branding, undisclosed flavor chemistry, that is the contradiction. That was the specialty health brand. Now, let's go back to basics, because the next brand is proof that even when a company strips everything down, they can still get it wrong. Number 9 is Elmhurst Oat Creamer, and Elmhurst deserves credit for one thing: they use fewer ingredients than almost anyone else in this list. Elmhurst started as a dairy farm, converted to plant-based production, and built a reputation for minimal processing. Their oat milk products typically use hydro-release, their own mechanical process to extract nutrients from oats without enzymes. That part is genuinely different. But the creamer specifically, not the oat milk, the creamer, adds sunflower oil to achieve the texture and richness that cream has naturally. And there it is again, refined seed oil as the fat source standing in for butterfat. The trade-off Elmhurst makes is the same trade-off every plant-based creamer makes. To get the richness of cream without using cream, you need fat. And the fat fat they reach for is extracted from seeds under industrial conditions. The oat content in Elmhurst oat creamer provides beta-glucan fiber, which research does support for cholesterol management. That is a genuine nutritional positive, but it does not offset the daily seed oil exposure for someone using this product multiple times per day. Honest company. Real effort at clean ingredients. Still not cream, and still carrying the same seed oil problem every other plant-based brand on this list cannot seem to escape. We have saved the most cynical product for last. At number 10, Nestle Coffeemate Sugar-Free is the brand's response to health-conscious consumers who were cutting sugar. The logic seems sensible. If the original is bad because of corn syrup, the sugar-free version should be better, right? Instead, Nestle replaced the corn syrup solids with sucralose and acesulfame potassium, two artificial sweeteners that have been the subject of ongoing scientific debate for over a decade. A 2023 study published in Nature Medicine found that erythritol, another sugar alcohol used in similar products, was associated with increased risk of major cardiovascular events. The broader conversation around artificial sweeteners and cardiovascular risk has intensified since that study, with researchers calling for updated safety reviews of the entire class. Acesulfame potassium, specifically, has been flagged in animal studies for potential effects on gut microbiome composition and insulin response. The European Parliament commissioned a review in 2021 that called for stricter reevaluation of acesulfame K's safety profile. The consistency is watery. The aftertaste is unmistakable. That synthetic sweetness that lingers on the back of the tongue after real sweetness would have faded. That aftertaste is the chemical signature of sucralose and acesulfame K metabolizing at different rates. For anyone who switched to the sugar-free version thinking they were making a safer choice, the sweeteners they substituted may come with a different set of risks that Nestle has never volunteered on the label. They removed one problem. They added two more. That is not a health upgrade. That is a lateral move dressed up as progress. Now, here is what actually belongs in your coffee. The first safe pick is Organic Valley Heavy Whipping Cream, and the ingredient list is a single word, cream. That is the entire list. One ingredient, no gums, no phosphates, no oil, derived from seeds. Organic Valley is a farmer-owned cooperative whose standards require certified organic feed, no synthetic hormones, and no routine antibiotic use. Their supply chain is audited by the Cornucopia Institute, a third-party agricultural watchdog that consistently rates it among the top tier for organic dairy integrity. Pour a small amount into black coffee and watch what happens. It disperses in slow, silky ribbons, fat globules suspending naturally in hot water, the way food behaves when it has not been industrially engineered to behave differently. The color is a warm, golden ivory. It smells like dairy because it is dairy. A tablespoon contains butterfat, naturally occurring saturated fat that your body has evolved to metabolize efficiently. Multiple studies, including a comprehensive 2021 meta-analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition covering over 30,000 participants, found that full-fat dairy intake was not associated with increased cardiovascular risk and was inversely associated with metabolic syndrome. One ingredient, real food. Every single thing about this product is the point. The second safe pick is Strauss Family Creamery, half and half. Strauss is a Northern California dairy founded in 1994 that became the first certified organic dairy west of the Mississippi. Their half and half contains two ingredients, organic cream and organic non-fat milk, nothing else. The cream comes from cows that graze on certified organic pasture in Marin County, California. Strauss publishes their farm's carbon footprint annually and uses glass bottles, which means no BPA or plastic leaching into a fat-soluble product the way it can with plastic packaging. Fat-soluble substances, like plasticizers from packaging, absorb preferentially into high-fat products. Using glass for a cream product is not just environmental virtue signaling, it is the smarter food safety choice. Pour Strauss half and half, and you get a product that is lighter than heavy cream but richer than any plant-based alternative. Naturally, because it contains dairy fat, which is what half and half has always been before the creamer industry decided to replace it with gums and oil. The flavor is clean, slightly sweet in the way that fresh dairy is sweet, with no synthetic aftertaste. For seniors managing blood pressure, or for anyone reducing their ultra-processed food load, replacing a daily product that contains 12 or more additives with one that contains 2 is one of the most direct improvements you can make to your morning routine. The third safe pick is Maple Hill Organic Grass-Fed Half and Half, and this one deserves attention for a specific nutritional reason beyond simply being real cream. Grass-fed dairy from cows that graze on actual grass grass rather than grain, has a meaningfully different fat profile than conventional dairy. Grass-fed cows produce milk with a higher concentration of conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, a fatty acid that research has associated with anti-inflammatory properties, and which is present in negligible amounts in conventionally raised dairy and essentially absent from every plant-based or chemical creamer on this list. A 2019 review in the British Journal of Nutrition confirmed that grass-fed dairy contains significantly higher CLA levels and a more favorable omega-3 profile than conventional dairy. Maple Hill is a certified organic, certified grass-fed brand available in most major grocery chains and Amazon Fresh. The ingredient list is organic cream, organic non-fat milk. That is it. The product is kosher certified, non-GMO verified, and third-party tested for pesticide residue. The texture is richer than a standard half and half. There is a slight depth to the flavor that conventional half and half does not have, the result of beta-carotene from grass in the cow's diet, which also gives grass-fed cream a faintly golden color you will notice if you hold it to the light. 3 products across all 3 safe picks. 5 total ingredients between all of them. That is what real creamer looks like. Next time you are in the creamer aisle, turn the bottle around. Count the ingredients. If the list runs longer than 3 lines, put it back. The product you want is the simplest one on the shelf. What brand are you switching from? And what surprised you most on this list? Drop the name in the comments. Let's see which product has the most people reconsidering their morning routine. The pattern across all 10 of these brands is the same. The further a product is from actual cream, the more ingredients it needs to pretend otherwise. Dipotassium phosphate, carrageenan, sunflower oil, gellan gum, locust bean gum, gar gum, natural flavors, titanium dioxide. These are not foods. They are construction materials for a food-shaped product, and they have been in your morning coffee compounding every single day. If your creamer has been one of the brands on this list, you are not alone. Tens of millions of Americans have been reaching for the same bottles without knowing what was inside. Check your pantry tonight. Count the additives on the label, and then drop a comment telling us which brand you are walking away from. The answers in this section tell a story about how quickly people change once they actually read the label. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.